And good morning, everyone. I'm Casey Durango of Go Keto with Casey, and I like to talk about how I've lost 97.4 pounds since starting the ketogenic diet, how you might be able to lose weight, improve your health, and regain control of your lives. Thank you for allowing me in today. Last week, I had a little trouble with sound quality, so if anyone is out there, if they could let me know that you are hearing me. I don't see anyone here yet. Maybe you are. But just let me know that you can hear. Okay, coolio. Thank you, Nancy, for letting me know. Turns out last week what had happened was iOS had sent out a system update and they reset the internal microphone levels to low. So there was that. Okay, thank you. Today's topic, among others. And I want to thank Lindy from Australia for this question. She was curious about how on other diets, Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, Biggest Loser, Nutrisystem, Slim Fast, Low Fat, Move More, Eat Less, whatever it might be, that some people lose weight without eating low carb or, not as low as the ketogenic diet. For those of you who are new, the ketogenic diet is one where you reduce your carbohydrate intake to the point where your liver stops pushing out glucose for fuel and your body happily starts burning ketones for fuel. For most people, kind of the baseline where it will generally work for just about everybody, that would be 20 total grams of carb per day or fewer. That is a maximum, not a minimum, and you can eat fewer carbs if you wish. Eat fatty sources of protein and don't eat if you're not hungry. That's kind of it in a nutshell, although there are no nuts on the approved food list. So anywho, thank you for that question, Lindy. So how does that work? If keto's the answer for so many people, then how do the other diets work? Well, honestly, the ketogenic diet ends up doing the same thing that any other successful weight loss program does. You take in less fuel than your body requires for energy. Now, on this protocol, you don't necessarily need to count calories. Do it if you wish, but then you can kind of fall into a situation where, hey, Kimmy, check again from Germany. Get back to work, girl. We don't need you losing your job. Good morning, Colleen. You can get in the trap of trying to get in calories. If you let an app or a chart tell you how many calories you're supposed to be eating, then you kind of freak out. If you're not hungry, you don't eat that many. You don't really need to count calories per se. If you follow the ketogenic protocol, a well-formulated ketogenic diet, as Dr. Stephen Finney refers to it, it is satiating, it is nutritious, and you just naturally fall into having less of an appetite and eating less. That's what happens. That's what happened to me. That's what happens to most of the people with whom I speak and from whom I hear. So, what's the deal? What about Weight Watchers? They're not saying go low carb, or maybe they are now. I mean, they change it every, amusingly every year so that they can have a new program every January. Or so it seems. You can lose weight by taking in less fuel than your body requires for energy. The difference for me and the difference for many people is, for one thing, you can feel really restricted. The way I follow the ketogenic diet, the food I eat, I don't feel restricted at all. It's luscious. It's decadent almost. It's beautiful cuts of meat and poultry and seafood. It's lovely, rich avocado and olive oil on a salad if you want it, and sour cream, a dollop here, dairy if you can tolerate it, full fat dairy. eggs with the yolks, Guys, bacon. It's yummy. This morning I had 4 breakfast links. Cheesy 3 eggs scrambled together. 3 eggs with shredded cheddar cheese stirred into it. And a dollop of sour cream on the side. Don't feel restricted. But not only can it feel restrictive, but in my experience and the experience of many other people, on these strictly watch your calories, watch your points, don't get in more, you end up thinking about food all the time. You're either actually hungry all the time because you're maybe still burning glucose for fuel and your brain is calling for more glucose because you can't store glucose. Make sure that's not my husband. It is not. One of the great things about the ketogenic diet for me is I'm released from thoughts of food. It is liberating. For those of you who don't know, I was very, very heavy for a very, very long time. I was very heavy for 30 years, from my mid-20s until my mid-50s. Please go to my blog, CaseyDurango.com, to see some before photos. Perfectly round. I would post them here, but I can't do screen sharing right now. Like I said, it's enough for me to make sure my speakers are working. And I'd given up on losing weight. Given up. I was super fat. Had been. Tried all sorts of things, including the summer of the triathlons. Trained for and participated in 4 or 5 sprint level triathlons. And I was really heavy. I completed each one after the results were posted and the vendors were packing up their trucks to leave. And I trained really, really hard and worked at them very hard, and over the course of 6 months lost 11 pounds, and I was hungry and sore all the time. Anywho, this worked for me and released me from thoughts of food. Food is not the boss of me. Those of you who listen to my videos or whatever, certainly patrons, know that food is not the boss of me is a mantra. It is so liberating. It frees up space in your brain. It frees up space in your day. It frees up space in your pocketbook. Our grocery bill for my lovely mate and I continues to go down. And we eat really well. Lamb, prime rib, ribeye, pork, thick pork chops, shrimp, scallops, thick sliced bacon. Yum! Our grocery bill continues to go down because the food we eat is so nutrient dense. We need less of it. And we weigh less. My husband never really did have a weight problem. I did. We both eat less because we are more satisfied. So Lindy in Australia, that is my take. Now, I'm not a clinician. I am not a medical person. I'm simply a well-educated, highly motivated, amusingly intelligent, former fatty. But my understanding, my observation would be that you can lose weight if you take in less fuel than your body requires for energy. You can do that by moving more and eating less, or totally restricting, your food, or just, eating rice cakes and low-fat cheese. Ugh. Talk about torture. But if you're going to be hungry all the time, is that a way to live? And it can be ineffective. And you might lose weight, but your internal situations may not improve. Remember, you can be thin on the outside and fat on the inside. Fat on the outside, fat on the inside. Tofu. You can be rail thin and have high triglycerides and low HDL. You can have high blood sugar. Those are bad things. Metabolic syndrome is defined as having 3 out of 5 of these situations. High blood sugar, high blood glucose, high blood pressure, large waist circumference, high triglycerides, and low HDL. If you have 3 out of those 5, you're thought to be at high risk for cardiovascular disease. Note that weight is not on there, BMI is not on there, overall cholesterol is not listed, underactive thyroid is not listed, overactive thyroid is not listed. Here they are again. High blood sugar, high blood pressure, large waist circumference, high triglycerides, and low HDL. So you can be very thin, not have the large waist circumference, and have all 4 of the others. And you are not in good shape. So anyway, how do you lose weight? You reduce, you take in less fuel than your body needs for energy. You can do it many ways. The ketogenic diet is, for me and for many people, the most effective, easiest, simplest, and most satisfying way to do it. And you're liberated from thoughts of food. What's wrong with that? Forget about the fact that people come off of bastante de medicines, lots of medications. By the way, I would love to start a Spanish language series. I speak Spanish pretty well. I'm just not sure that I speak it well enough to not say the wrong thing. I'd hate to do that. So find what works for you. Many people are thrilled with Weight Watchers and have great success. Many people simply pound it out at the gym 5 days a week, and they watch, they watch their calorie intake, and they, try to keep their energy balanced. Whatever works for you. It's nobody else's business what you do. But if you're listening to this, you may have found that those things don't work for you. So give it a try. Total carbs, 20 grams or fewer a day. Eat fatty sources of protein. Don't eat if you're not hungry. Have the occasional full-fat dairy. Remember, just because it's an allowed food does not mean it's either unlimited or compulsory. There's nothing unlimited. You can overeat anything. This is not a diet where you get in a lot of fat. You eat the amount of protein that is appropriate for you, and only you will know that. Because if we overeat protein, we tend to feel unwell as humans. So you figure out what the right protein is for you. There's some formula, but there's large sway in that. I've never counted my grams of protein. I just eat the protein, the meat and fish and poultry sources that come with the fat. Eat to satiety. It all works itself out. It's like magic. Keep your carbs low. Okie dokie. 30 seconds, indulge me here. If you're in the Greensboro, North Carolina area, Monday, the day after tomorrow, the 14th of May, we're going to have a Go Keto with Casey meetup at Wine Styles. No purchase necessary. You don't have to buy a glass of wine, but it is half price on Mondays. It's just really a reaching out, information thing, a little support thing. That's all it is. No tricks involved. Save the date, September 28th and 29th of this year. The Go Keto with Casey Roadshow is really hitting the road in Portland, Oregon. Details to follow. And last, I want to give a shout out to patrons. This is a little commercial for Patreon. Because of patrons, some of whom I recognize the names here, I personally am able to continue talking about the ketogenic diet, my experience with it, my understanding of it, and actually have been able to leave my former career. The end of this month, officially, I'm out of my former career, which I'd been in for 30 years and was very lucrative. But the patrons make it possible for me to do this without resorting to selling supplements and powders and shakes and fake baked goods and affiliate crap. Everyone's got to make a living, but I'm not going to do it that way because I don't really believe in it, because none of that stuff will help you. It's all hooey. That said, I always like to tell about how you don't have to buy anything to be successful. I do have things to sell. Go Keto with Casey shirts. Go Keto with Casey blank journal that comes with its own little pen, which is so cute. And this grocery bag is a carb-free zone. That's it. Commercial over. You can find that stuff at my blog, caseydurango.com. Okay. I had said a Q&A, not that I have all the answers. Oh, Gene O'Connor, you are getting to come to Greensboro. That is fantastic. For those of you who don't know, Gene and Mark, will Mark be joining you? Tremendous success stories. Gene went from bedbound to wheelchair-bound to now she scoots all over the place like she herself is motorized. Tremendous success story, and it's just great. So I'm so glad you're coming, Gene. It's at Wine Styles at Brenly Center. Myra writes, thank you for being so honest with us. I don't have a good enough memory to be anything else. You know, if you're going to be a liar, you better have a pretty good memory. Hey, Kat, you're going to be in Portland. That is going to be great. We're going to plan on a Friday evening, that's the 28th, meet and greet at a place in Sedgewell? Tricia. She just did a GIF. Or GIF. And then Saturday program. As I said, details to follow. Melissa, will I be in Kentucky at any time? No. And I know that people ask a lot of folks that do videos and stuff, you know, come to my neck of the woods. And I always kind of take that with a grain of salt. Because I think people are being polite when they say that to us. But you know, I would love to go anywhere. But Portland is definitely on the list. Okay, Oh, Tricia, I'm not falling for you again, girl. You always say you're going to be at these things, and you never show up. But that's okay. I know you're busy, taking care of your mama. Hope your mother's okay. Sellwood, thank you. Sellwood, which is part of Portland. So we're hoping that a little establishment will allow us to have a little meet and greet there on Friday. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, no questions? Okay, Marsha Summit. Sometimes I think I eat more veggies than protein. I think it stalls me. What's the truth? Okay, again, I am not a clinician. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a medical person. I'm not a medical professional. Consider this. Essentially, the bulk of any carbs that you get if you're following a well-formulated ketogenic diet will come from vegetables, non-starchy vegetables. That's certainly where mine come from. So yeah, you can overeat them. Guess what? There's no such thing as a minimum X number of cups of leafy greens a day. Somebody wrote me and said they'd been told 8 to 10 cups of vegetables a day. Do what you want to do. It would be counterproductive for me. The truth is, carbohydrate is not an essential nutrient. Period. Since vegetables are mostly carb, ergo, they're not essential. This is a very nutrient-dense way of eating. Very high in vitamins. Please follow Georgia Ede, Dr. Georgia Ede, E-D-E, and Zoe Harcum. Both have wonderful series on comparing plant nutrition and animal nutrition. Not the nutrition that we feed our animals, but the nutrition we get from animal products. Very, very good stuff. Marked it on my calendar. That's great for Portland. Melissa Allen, we're at a campground, and my kids thought they've seen you. They came running to tell me. We tried to run the camper down. Would love to meet you. Haven't been in a camper in a while. My lovely mate is out of the country, so he cannot pre-flight you at all. Okay, Sandy Strunk writes, Happy Mother's Day, everyone. Keto on. Okay, Janice asked the doctor's names again. Dr. Georgia Ede, E-D-E, and Zoe Harcum, H-A-R-C-O-M-B-E. She's a British PhD. Very funny. If you ever get a chance to read her or see her speak, very funny. Witty, smart. Don't we love smart, witty people? They're the best. Jean writes, Dr. Westman used to say minimum veggies before he found out that they were not essential. Yeah, and I don't know that he didn't already know they weren't essential. Let's keep in mind that the evolution of dietary recommendations. And it has been an evolution, not necessarily of the knowledge, maybe of the knowledge of it, but of the recommendations. Keep in mind that Dr. Robert Atkins was pulled up in front of Congress and maligned. I mean, you know, people in other countries have been threatened, their medical licenses have been threatened. You have to be careful with what you recommend. Nutrition is a third rail. I don't know the story behind going from minimum to maximum. I don't know. Other people will have to answer that question. But I can tell you what common sense tells me, is that at one time you had to be pretty daggone careful or else you were going to get voted off the island. And so better to get generally good information out there and be able to, you know, live to speak another day. That's just my opinion. I have no basis to be able to say anything. Okie dokie. Anybody else have any questions? And the comments are jumping up and down, so I don't know whether anyone's asked something and I can't see it. So if that's the case, sorry about it, just ask it again. And of course, I don't have all the answers. I can only speak to my experience and my understanding of the information. There are excellent sources for the science. You don't need too many books to tell you how to follow the program, because guess what it is? 20 grams of carbohydrate a day or fewer. Eat fatty source of protein. Don't eat if you're not hungry. That's simple. Now, there are a whole bunch of other things that go into being able to pull that off. We have to deal with our emotional attachment to some foods, our assumption that we are incapable of giving up certain foods. You know, we think, I would say 80% of the people with whom I speak and ask me, how do you do this? Oh, that's fine for you, but I can never give up. And then they can fill in anything they want. I can never give up pizza. I can never give up chips. I can never give up soda. I can never give up gummy bears. I couldn't do it. I'm Italian. We eat pasta. I can't do it. We're Asian. We eat rice. I can't do it. We're Hispanic. We eat rice and beans. I can't do it. We're German. We eat potatoes. I can't do it. I'm American and I eat everything in sight. I thought I couldn't give up tortilla chips. I really had the conscious thought, I can't do this. This was before keto. I knew for years that low carb worked for me. I just didn't think I could stick to it because I didn't think I could give up tortilla chips. And I couldn't until I did. It's amazing. Okay, Holly, right? She was overwhelmed. Why make it hard? I can never give up as a crutch. It's a choice to get healthy. You know, and Kim, I would agree with you, but I think we have to be really careful about using language that's too strong. Oh, that's just a crutch. You have to make a decision. Well, you do, ultimately. I mean, I think my last talk was about, you know, cravings. At some point, you have to get in front of the cravings and say, well, I'm just not going to give in to the craving. I have control over that. But I think we have to be measured in the way we speak to most people. And we want to minimize the blame the victim type of thing. Not that we're victims. I mean, we've allowed ourselves to feel like victims sometimes. You know, I can't because I have cravings. I can't because my marriage broke up 3 years ago. I can't because I had a hysterectomy when I was 30. Well, so did I. You can do it. But we have to get our minds to that place. Gene O'Connor asks, is there a dress code for wine styles? Nope, I certainly hope not. And Trish writes, no, not after a few drinks. I tell my friends, just don't overthink keto. Really, it is easy. It really is simple. The implementation is not so easy sometimes. But if you can just get through it the first few days, it becomes so much easier. Hey, Rusty! Rusty is a new patron, and I appreciate that. And Rusty posted a photo, which is kind of odd, of one of my morning snippets. Oh, back to Patreon, just to let you know, I meant to tell you this. What is Patreon? It's a place by which people pledge, and there's patron-only content. From $2 a month up, and depending on your pledge, you get weekday morning videos from me without makeup, pillow hair, sometimes before coffee, sometimes incoherent. That's every weekday for no matter, entry-level pledge. Plus you get access to a discourse, which is a patron-only forum, which is like Facebook, only it doesn't suck. And then on up from there, you get patron-only live streams, which I now have 6 a month, to patron-only group video chats, which I now have 5 a month, to hour one-on-one sessions with me, depending on your pledge level. Anyway, so Rusty posted a photograph on the Keto After 40 page of me on her laptop and her dog resting his chin on the laptop watching me, and there was my face, my morning face, which is, oh yeah. He said the dog was listening intently. Tricia, if food is not the problem, no, if hunger is not the problem, food is not the answer. Susie Murphy, address macros one more time before I smack someone across the head. Let's not bring violence into it. I don't talk about the M word. It's never been part of the protocol in any of the research I've done from those people whom I respect. Keep in mind that some people will preach to you about having to do things that are very complicated so that they can then sell you something to make it easier. Please keep in mind that there are hucksters out there. There are pitchmen. There are very smooth ones. Oh, but they're trying to sell you something that you don't need. Full stop. If you keep your carbohydrate intake to 20 grams or fewer, or whatever the level is for you at which you stop pumping out glucose, your liver, and start burning fat or ketones for fuel, and then you eat fatty sources of protein and don't eat if you're not hungry, stop when you're satiated, the math works itself out. The pie chart, to my understanding, came after research on this in Metabolic Word's food jail, where they studied people on the many different types of eating protocols. And they found out that the people who were eating a carb-restricted diet and then ate whatever else they were given, they were in food jail, they couldn't wander off and eat other foods, lost the most weight, and the volumes of food, the way it came out, ended up in the pie chart. It wasn't a goal, it was a result. There you go. Don't hit anyone over the head. Tricia writes, local groups are popping up all around. I attended a beginner's class at a Person County, which is about an hour's drive from Chapel Hill, given by 2 men. Wow. And I think, Tammy has a Person County low carb support group, which I think has like 3,000 members. That's really great. Rusty writes, I consider myself a recovering macroholic. Yeah, it's real easy to get sucked into the numbers and all that. Don't micromanage your body. We don't do it with anything else. We don't micromanage our urine output. We don't micromanage our breathing regime. We might try to micromanage our sleeping, but frankly, we tend to get, the sleep what we're going to get. Just try to figure out the difference between the habit and hunger. Push the peckishness, meaning, yeah, I could eat, but you don't have to eat. See how long you have that same level of peckishness. You'd be amazed, sometimes it can go for hours. Whereas before, anybody said, as soon as I feel peckish, you eat. Give it a go. Okay. Anybody else have any questions for me? Otherwise, I'll begin to wrap this up. Oh, Tammy was in the hospital. Right, Tammy's, well, we'll leave it at that. HIPAA. Okie dokie. Any other questions? Any other questions? Okie dokie. Oh, thank you, Wanda. You always think I look pretty. You always think I look pretty. Thank you. I take the compliment. Yes, my lovely mate is doing fine. I actually spoke with him this morning. He's on the farm. Okay, I don't see any questions. Oh, can we get too few calories? Julie Crenshaw asks. Well, I guess it depends. Are you arbitrarily not eating when you're actually quite hungry? Yeah, then you'll be getting too few calories. Now, your body will go ahead and consume what it needs, by definition, assuming you have body fat, which essentially, I think we all have plenty of body fat unless we've been on an extended hunger strike. People worry about that. And they'll say, oh, you're going to ruin your metabolism. If you eat too few calories, your metabolism will ratchet down. Think about that. Now, anytime you lose weight, get older, your metabolism slows down. It's what happens. But maybe your metabolism is becoming more efficient. And let's think of the converse, because this always makes me question. Oh, you're not eating enough. If you don't eat enough, you'll slow your metabolism down. Oh, well then should we eat all the time and make our metabolism ratchet up? Does it go like that? I don't think so. I think if it did, we would all have hyperactive metabolisms because many of us ate a lot. If you're not hungry, don't eat. Don't know how old you are, don't know how much weight you've lost, don't know what you've got going on in your body. I'm on about a 36-hour rotation of eating a substantial amount of food. Like my breakfast this morning was substantial. Most mornings, my first meal of the day is my coffee. And then I have a second coffee. And if you've been stalled, not eating is not going... Eating more won't break a stall. That's gibberish. That's like saying... I'm so exhausted. I'm so tired all the time. I'm so tired. Maybe I should just get less sleep. No, that's not the way that works either. Eating more food won't make you lose weight. If eating more food made you lose weight, I would have been thin forever. Your body's going to do what it's going to do. It's possible that, when we were gaining weight, I dare say it wasn't in a straight line. We probably hung at the same weight sometimes, even as we were trending upwards. So just stick with it. What do you mean by substantial breakfast? Veronica, you must not have been hearing earlier. I had 4 breakfast link sausages, 3 eggs with shredded cheddar scrambled into it. So it was a big thing of eggs. 4 breakfast link sausages and a dollop of sour cream with my coffee with heavy cream. And yeah, Rusty, that's a really good point. Stop calling meals by names. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. It was too much to do with the clock. Now it's just my first meal or second meal. Could be 4 p.m. for the first meal. I think that's a really good point. Thank you for sharing that. And Melissa says, don't blame keto for what the carbs did. Don't blame keto for what the net carbs did. Don't blame keto for what the almond flour did. Don't blame keto for what the carb up day did. That's just illogical. Sorry. Do what works for you. Okay, my sis is here today, writes Julie Cooper. Can you explain fat bombs? Well, I can tell you that fat bombs are little morsels made of fat. Some people will use them to curb, for some satiety. If you can do that and it works for you, cool. I can't keep them in my house because guess what? I love them. I have one that is to die for. I won't even give you the recipe because I don't want other people to be tempted. But I would find that every time I walk through the kitchen, I'd open up the freezer and just pop one in my mouth. Ooh, so good. But keep in mind that if you're overeating dietary fat, that doesn't mean the fat that comes with the ribeye or the yolk with the egg. That doesn't mean the fat that's in the couple of ounces of cheese you eat a day. I mean really added fat. Loading up your coffee with coconut oil and butter and the dreaded, ridiculous, not useful for any purpose MCT oil Well, it's useful for some purposes, but not for weight loss. If you're drinking all the fat and calories your body needs to fuel itself, it's not going to tap into your onboard stores. It's going to burn that first. Wanda writes, whoever decided we needed 3 meals a day? Probably Quaker Mills or General Mills. Actually, there's an interesting theory about that. The Industrial Revolution. They wanted all the workers to eat at the same time so they could get as much production out. Trisha, I lost it. It went away. Don't blame keto for what the MCT oil did. Exactly, so you can write anything. Thyroid made my hair thinner, and I did lose some when I started because of stress, I believe. Getting better now. I love the fact that on this way of eating, I finally learned to forgive myself, writes Trisha. Yeah, there's a lot of self-loathing that has been involved with our former lives, right? Wouldn't you say? Because the bad dietary advice and the food manufacturers did a pretty good job of convincing us that if we couldn't lose weight, it was pretty much our fault. You know, Special K, part of a heart healthy diet. The Special K diet. And if it's not working for you, it's probably you. Alrighty, I'm going to wrap this up. By the way, do not let anybody guilt you on Mother's Day. If you don't want to eat the candy, the red velvet cake, the cupcakes, don't let anyone tell you, but it's Mother's Day and I made this just for you. You'll hurt my feelings if you don't eat it. Just think about that statement. You'll hurt my feelings if you don't eat this on Mother's Day that I made for you. Yes, I know you've lost a lot of weight and you're feeling a lot better, but you'll hurt my feelings if you don't eat this. I'm sensing ulterior motives. Rusty says, I've been told it was my fault, that my body was just too metabolically deranged to ever fix it. Rusty, was that certain person we wrote about earlier today? Yep, losing sizes without any pounds is a thing. Emotional eating is still hard to overcome, recognizing the signs. And you know, sometimes the best way to deal with that is before it happens. If you know you're going to be in a stressful situation, gird your loins for it. Just tell yourself, I know this is going to be rough. But no matter what, I'm not going to turn to food for it. Because guess what? Food won't fix it, no matter what the rough thing is. You'll just feel like crap afterwards. One of those coffees loaded with fat, ? Yeah, don't do that. Do it if you want to. Not my business. But if things aren't working for you, start looking at what you're doing. If you're burning fat for fuel, but you absolutely are losing no inches and no pounds and no fractions of a pound, first ask yourself, okay, I'm burning fat for fuel, that's good. Am I eating all the fat my body needs so I'm not burning body fat for fuel? Make sense? Right. If you say, no, I'm not doing any of that. Okay, are you simply eating more food than your body needs? Are you eating out of habit? Are you eating when you're not hungry? Are you overeating even if you're waiting until you're hungry? You don't have to eat until you're full. Just eat until you're not hungry. Tell him you hurt my feelings for not understanding I can't eat that. Excellent, Wanda. Okay. I'm shopping online while listening this morning. Bought a new top. One size smaller. Yay! All right, guys. Going to wrap it up. If you celebrate Mother's Day, enjoy it. Be in charge of Mother's Day. Every day should be Mother's Day. I kind of have a little thing about Mother's Day. It seems it's one of those fake things. Fortunately, I'm pretty well treated most of the time. But if you celebrate it, be in control. Get ready if you're going to be in a stressful situation. Arm yourself. Food will not fix any stress you're under. Food will not fix any stress you're under. If you want to be reminded of that, watch a couple of episodes of my 600-pound life and see the excuses that the 600-pound person gives for continuing to eat. Well, I just had a really stressful time. I'm not blaming them. I'm just using it as an example. We all make excuses, but if, it's just brought into hard focus when you see someone who is dying from eating food. They're actually going to die from it. And yet they say, well, I was just really stressed out. That's why I kept eating. That's not why they kept eating. I mean, they're compelled to eat. You can eat it. You just choose not to. Man, you're pretty chatty today, Trish. Okay, Judy, how much fat is enough? I'm guessing that I need to research this. You can research it if you want. There is no amount that fat is enough. You don't get in fat. There's no minimum amount of fat. That's just made up stuff that some people peddle. Eat the fat that comes with the protein. I don't measure it. I have no idea to this day how many grams of protein or how many grams of fat I consume or did consume. Never paid any attention. The only tenet, the only thing to measure is carbohydrate intake. Eat fatty sources of protein. Don't eat if you're not hungry. If you do that, you will become naturally satiated, satisfied. The numbers will work out. This is not a high-fat diet. It's merely high-fat compared to a low-fat diet. The protein tends to stay the same because we naturally regulate it as a rule. So there are only 3 macronutrients. If you take out the carbs, the rest is fat. If you take out the fat, the rest is carbs or sugar. So there is no minimum amount of fat to eat. Don't fear the fat, just don't pile it on. Okay, Magic Pill was talked about before. I actually have not yet watched it. I'll watch it when my lovely mate returns. We're going to watch it together. Okay. Alrighty then. Thanks. I've said this now for the 3rd time. I'm signing off. Have a great Saturday. It's going to be hot here in my part of the world, in the 90s. So I'm going to try to get out and do some yard work, and then I have some consultations to do. So, thank you. Thank you to the patrons. If you want some patron-only contact, go to patreon.com/GoKetoWithKasey. Go to my website, CaseyDurango.com, for before and after photos. And for swag, I'm down to bags, t-shirts, and journals. I think everything else is gone. They're just for fun. They are not. Most of these items were suggested by my patrons and subscribers, so that's why we have them. And hope to see some of you at Wine Styles on Monday, 5:30. Wine Styles in Greensboro. No charge. No emails will be collected. Not going to sell you anything. I will have some Adapt products there for those of you who like them, because some people do want them. But I'll leave them in my car. Won't even bring them in. And we'll just talk about keto, because you know what? All I want to do is drink wine and talk about keto. Keep your carbs 20 grams or fewer a day. Eat fatty sources of protein, and don't eat if you're not hungry. Be kind to yourself. You can do this. If I can do this, you can do this. Adios. Auf Wiedersehen.